afternoon, good evening. I am Reverend Joseph Ford. Welcome, Faith, and we want to welcome you to our broadcast on today. On today, we're starting a new health series, because what we know is health is wealth, and we want to do our best to give our congregation and our community the tools necessary to live a healthy lifestyle. And so on every fourth Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m., we will have someone else who will be coming to speak with us. On today, our special guest is Dr. Edward Schuster. Dr. Schuster is a Stanford cardiologist and internist. He has practiced in this area for almost 40 years. A graduate of the Chicago Medical School, he completed his residency at Duke and a fellowship in cardiology at Johns Hopkins University. Over the years, he has received several honors, and for the past 15 years, he has appeared on the list of best doctors not only in Connecticut, but in the entire country. Dr. Schuster specializes in all aspects of cardiology with an emphasis in preventive cardiology and aging successfully. And so his talk today is entitled How to Live to Be 120 Years Old Without Disabilities. Drawing on his experience as well as medical studies, he will be giving us tips as to how this aspirational goal can be achieved. Welcome, Dr. Schuster. Thank you for joining us on today.
Thank you, Dr. Ford, for having me. You did leave out the most important part. I just had my 50th year anniversary with my wife, Rose. I've lived in Stanford since 1981. My 3 kids went to Roxbury, Clune, and West Hill High School, and now have 6 grandkids.
Oh, wow.
So my talk is how to live to be 120. And the person who's lived the longest in the world is a French woman who lived to 122. So my talk used to be how to live to be 100, then I upped it to how to live to be 110, and then I upped it to how to live to be 120. And when I wanted to figure out how many years God actually has given us, I figured, why not ask God? So I went to ChatGPT and asked Chad, does God talk in the Old Testament about how long people should live? And I have this quote from Genesis 6.3. This is when mankind was messing things up and God was getting ready for the flood. So this is from the Old Testament. When mankind had become corrupted in the period preceding the flood, God said, quote, "My spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years." And so that's where we are. That's what I think would be reasonable to be expected to get to be 120. So I'm going to go through my list pretty fast, and I will take questions from Dr. Ford while I'm talking and any questions from the audience. Number 1, be lucky and be blessed. I think that's important if you want to get to be 120. Be proactive, not reactive. Take care of yourself. Look out for things. Be careful. Have good genes. Have parents who live to be 80, 90, or 100. Be aware of what diseases run in your family. So look at your brothers and sisters, look at mom and dad. If they had breast cancer, colon cancer, heart disease, stroke, you want to tell your family doctor, I don't want to get the same thing. So there's certain things that add 10 years to your life. One is no smoking. So if you don't smoke, you get an extra 10 years. 20% of Americans still smoke. I don't understand why. And there's no such thing as light smoking. Any cigarettes is bad for you. Married people live 7 years longer. The joke is it just seems 7 years longer. Keep socially engaged. Live with someone. Have friends. The less TV you watch, the longer you live. The less you drive in traffic, the longer you live. Now, here's something scary. It's not who your doctor is, it's what your zip code is. So if your zip code is North Stamford, New Canaan, Darien, you're going to live a lot longer than if your zip code is Newark. So this is something we have to fix in society, where certain neighborhoods people live a lot longer. Another scary statistic, a man in the top 1% of income, money made, will live 20 years longer than a man in the bottom 1%. So we have to fix this. Dangerous days. Cold Mondays, you get the most heart attacks. Stay out of the hospital. We want to take care of you if we have to, but we would like to keep you out of the hospital. We're very proud of Stanford Hospital. It's relatively new. Every room is a private room, beautiful rooms. And we are the last independent nonprofit hospital in the state. One more time. We're the last independent nonprofit hospital in the state. Every other hospital is owned by Yale, Hartford Health, Nuvance, or Northwell. We are owned by you. Education. The more you go to school, the longer you live. Balance training for seniors. Falling down is the number 4 killer of seniors. That's very scary. I yell at my patients every day, watch out for the ice. I don't want you slipping on the ice. When you're going up and down the stairs, hold on to the banister. Don't carry the clothes with 2 hands. And the most dangerous room in the house is the bathroom, the shower, the tub. So I call my mother every morning, and I always end by saying, don't fall down, don't fall down, don't fall down. Wear your seatbelts. 13% of Americans still don't wear your seatbelts. Don't drink and drive. If 30 airplanes, if 30 jumbo jets crashed every year, we would be very upset. But 6,000 teenagers die in car crashes every year from drinking and driving. So tell your kids, don't drink and drive. Wear helmets when you're bike riding or skiing, and no texting in the car. If it was up to me, even the phones in the car wouldn't be allowed. My wife drives to New York, and for an hour she's on the phone talking to her friends. I don't think you can drive and really watch the road at the same time. I think Dr. Ford will like this. Going to church or synagogue or mosque adds 7 years to your life. One more time. Going to church adds 7 years to your life. There's 2 explanations for this. One is people who go to church are socially engaged. They're the kind of people who don't smoke. They're the kind of people who take their pills. The other explanation is somebody smiling on you. I'm not sure what the right answer is, but it adds 7 years to your life. Would you like to comment on that, Dr. Ford?
Listen, I certainly shall comment on that. That's just a plug for everyone to get to church. I don't care what church it is. but having a church where you can connect and have community, as Dr. Schuster has said, it's good for your health and can add 7 years. Dr. Schuster, now you have been moving quite fast. And I was going to let you complete, but I do have some questions.
Well,
Would you
come
prefer
in.
to? All right, all right. Well, I want to go with the first. There were two you said was be lucky and have good genes. So when you're talking about being lucky and having good genes, what if you don't have good genes? You're not as lucky. What if you have a number of things that run into your family or your
Sure.
family's life expectancy?
If if you know what the bad genes are, for the most part, we can control them with diet, exercise, and medication. For example, especially in African Americans, hypertension runs very high. And regrettably, people get kidney disease and end up on dialysis because of high blood pressure. Now, if mom and dad, brother or sister have high blood pressure, we have pills and we can fix your blood pressure so you don't get a stroke and you don't get kidney disease and end up on dialysis. If the gene for breast cancer runs in your family, you get mammograms and we keep an eye on you. And if you get something, we catch it early. If the gene for colon cancer runs in your family, do a colonoscopy. If the gene for heart attack runs in your family. So there are certain diseases that you can't do anything about, but I would say 80 to 90% of bad genes we can control with medication, diet, and exercise. So you're not cursed, you're not doomed. But you got to go to your family doctor and say, listen, my sister's on dialysis, my brother had a stroke. What do I got to do so I don't end up like them?
Wonderful. Yes, yes. Let me ask you this. You said exercise. How much exercise is needed?
Okay, excellent question. Anything you do for a half an hour, 4 days a week, taking a walk, going to the gym, taking a Tai Chi class, anything 30 to 40 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week. It doesn't have to be heavy duty. Now, for seniors, it's what's called silver sneakers, where if you have Medicare, it will pay for gym membership. But walking is great. The problem is I live in Stanford. Half the year it's too hot, it's raining, it's snowing, so you can't walk. But you gotta exercise. My mom goes on the bike in her apartment every day for 10, 15 minutes, and that's great. So I don't care what you do as long as you do it.
And what would you say for those folk who just don't like exercising or say they don't have the time to exercise?
Um, I think everybody's got a half an hour 4 times a week. And remember, when you're doing that, you're adding 10 years to your life. We're going to get to this a little bit down the road. The only thing that has been shown to prevent Alzheimer's disease is exercise. One more time. Everybody's scared to death about Alzheimer's disease. Everybody sees people who have it. It's a disaster. The only thing that's been shown to prevent Alzheimer's disease is exercise. So that should motivate you. Look, I get up at 5:15 in the morning. We have some equipment in the basement. I go downstairs for half an hour. I don't like it. It's cold. It's dark. I put on some music, but I know what it's doing.
Uh, Doctor, I don't know if you can see, but Beverly Thomas says, that's my doctor. He saved my life the best.
Beverly is super cool, and we love Beverly.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Let me ask you this. You mentioned what zip code you live in has a great determination of how long you live. Um, why do you think that's the case?
People in certain zip codes have a higher income. It's easier for them to get healthy food. It's easier for them to join a gym. There's more places where they can walk outside. It's easier for them to pay for their medicines. Um, and regrettably, all those things add up to a 10 to 20-year difference in life expectancy. So somehow we have to equalize things in the United States where, all zip codes get the same advantages.
Would you agree that also when you live in a zip code such as you mentioned earlier, Newark, as opposed to that of Greenwich or North Stamford, that there are other stressors because of how individuals may work or whatever that cause them to, I guess, have different health challenges such as high blood pressure and things like that. Just the regular day-to-day stressors because their lifestyle, their I guess they're more in survival mode, I guess.
Yeah, I think that that's an excellent point. And, when you're in survival mode, you're less likely to take your pills, you're less likely to eat healthy. You don't have the time to go to the gym. Um, it's not an easy thing to fix, but I think Stanford, which by the way is now the second biggest city in Connecticut, we're working hard throughout the community. Um, Thanks to a donation from Stephen and Alexandra Cohn. Stephen owns the New York Mets. Westville High School and Stanford High School have indoor gyms, 7,000 square feet with new equipment, hip hop music for kids who aren't on the teams, for kids to exercise. So we're trying to equalize things as much as we can.
Awesome, awesome. Let me ask you, you said men in the top 1% live 20 years longer. Why is that?
If you're rich, you get vacation time, you have more time to go to the gym, you can get trainers, you can buy expensive healthy food, you can pay for good doctors, you can pay for your medicines, and it's not fair, but I mean it's one thing for the top 1% to have fancy cars or fancy boats or fancy golf clubs, but 20 years is a different story.
Yeah.
And we're trying to equalize that as much as we can.
Yeah, and I think in terms of health equity, that is something we definitely have to look at.
Right. Laura
Because
Laura Jordan, who is actively working in the state to financially help communities become as equal as possible.
yes, and let me say that Stanford Health has done a phenomenal job. We've partnered with Stanford Health on a number of initiatives. This is just one of those because, as I said earlier, we want to see those in our community live a lot longer and be not only live a lot longer, but to live healthy for a lot longer. Uh,
In my
Nicole,
in my job as a cardiologist, I get paid by what's called an RVU, which means if I see a billionaire, if I see a regular person, if I see somebody from AmeriCare, if I see somebody from Optimus Health, if I see somebody from no insurance, I get paid the same.
Mm.
So we're very proud here at the Tully Center. We see all those people. We have a special relationship with the Optimus Clinic in AmeriCare. So we take care of everybody the same. That was a deal my father made for me many years ago when he put me through medical school. He said, you better take care of everybody the same. And when I came to Stanford in the beginning, people would call me up and they would say, this patient has insurance or this patient doesn't have insurance. And I would say, don't give me that crap. I don't care about insurance. Just tell me what's the matter with them.
Well, Dr. Schuster, it's good to know that there are doctors like you who are really concerned and want only the best for their patients, no matter what economic status they may be at. So let me just say thank you so much, Dr. Schuster.
And by the way, that business of everybody being equal goes for all 250 doctors in the Stanford Medical Group. It's not just me.
All right, all right. Let me ask, you said cold days. Most heart attacks happen on Mondays, cold Mondays. Why is that?
So most heart attacks occur in the morning. When you wake up, you get nervous, you get excited, your blood pressure goes up, your hormones get up, your blood gets sticky. When I started as a heart doctor, I used to go to the emergency room at 6:30 and wait for the guys to come in with heart attacks from 6:30 to 9 o'clock. So the morning is the most dangerous time. Cold weather is bad for you. I tell my heart patients, don't run around, don't exercise in cold weather. You need this much blood to exercise on a regular day, and you need this much to exercise on a cold day. So be careful on cold days. And Mondays is the most stressful day of the week. You're nervous.
Mm,
So cold Monday mornings are the most dangerous time.
all right. You said stay out of the hospital. I thought hospitals are supposed to be good for you.
Hospitals are good for you if you're really sick. But, my practice used to be run around the hospitals taking care of sick people. Now it's seeing people at the Tully Center and keeping them out of the hospital. Now, of course, if you've got a high temperature, if you can't breathe, if you're having chest pain, we can do great stuff for you at Stanford Hospital. But we want to emphasize preventative care. We want your people, your churchgoers, taking care of themselves so the time they have to go in the hospital is a lot less. But we've
All
got a
right.
great hospital if you need it. We're very proud of it.
So, Dr. Schuster, I know there are some individuals who are just scared to death of hospitals, that they've had a bad experience or they've witnessed a loved one go into the hospital. And because of that, they don't want to really have anything to do with hospitals or doctors because of their fear. What would you say to that person?
Look, I'm scared of doctors. I'm scared of hospitals. Um, but if you don't want to end up in the hospital, get a good family doctor and spend a lot of time on prevention, taking the right medicines, getting the right blood tests, getting the mammograms, getting your tests so you don't end up in the hospital. But look, if you're sick, you got to go in the hospital. And the problem is the one person who had a bad experience everybody talks about, but the 25 people that had a good experience, they don't talk because they go home and they go back to a normal life. So
Mm,
we're not gods. We are regular people. And when you're dealing with cancer and heart disease, you're not going to win every battle, but we win most of them.
okay. So you just mentioned cancer and heart disease. Let me take one at a time. So, what would be early signs of heart disease?
Okay, so that brings us to cholesterol. Know what your cholesterol numbers are. Cholesterol clogs up the arteries. It causes heart attack, stroke, and kidney disease. You got to know what your cholesterol is. Don't live near fast food restaurants. So, again, when you're talking about health equality, my when my kids were in Westhill High School and they got 20 minutes for lunch, they had to stay in the high school. And the lunches now in the high schools are a lot healthier than they used to be. If you're in Newark or the Bronx, your high school within 5 minutes has a Burger King, a Kentucky Fried Chicken, and a tobacco store. And you can get out of school, eat lousy food, and come back in time. So stay away from fast food restaurants and get your cholesterol good. Tell my family doctor I want to have a low cholesterol. So what are good foods? It's called the Mediterranean diet. Lots of olive oil, lots of canola oil, lots of fish, lots of nuts, oatmeal, brown rice, lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, maybe a drink a day. Coffee's good for you. So it's the Greek, it's the it's the French diet. Lots of olive oil, lots of fish, lots of nuts, lots of fruits and vegetables. And again, the problem again when you're talking about health equality is we have tried to teach the students at Stanford how to cook healthy. Bad food is easy to get, is cheap, and tastes good. Good food is harder to get, is more expensive, and doesn't taste as good. So it's a lot easier for the kid who's going home from school, whose mom is working, to stop at McDonald's for her and her sister than it is to go home and make fish and vegetables. But bad food is poison. And RFK, who is leading health now, I'm not going to get into the politics, but he is for healthy food. The problem is it's hard to get healthy food, it's hard to cook it, but it's a lot better for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me ask this. You said for our seniors, balance training. So, what would balance training look like?
Balance training would be for your church to offer a Tai Chi class where they do that kind of stuff. Um,
Okay.
if you know somebody and you love somebody and they're a senior and they've fallen down, give your doctor a call and say you want your loved one to get physical therapy and balance training. It's covered by insurance, it's covered by Medicaid, it's covered by Medicare. You can come to the Tully Center and take classes for a couple of weeks on how not to fall down.
Excellent. Excellent. Uh, Thank you so much for that.
All right,
You
so we
said,
talked about diet. Blood pressure is very important. Um, we want the top number 110, 120, 130, 140. High blood pressure is called the silent killer. It doesn't make you sick. You don't know you have it. But over 10, 20, 30 years, it can poison your heart, poison your kidneys, and poison your brain. And there is no reason in the world to have high blood pressure. We have lots of medicines that are very safe to take. So watch out for blood pressure. Breast cancer,
now I'm going to stop right there
go
and
ahead.
ask you, Dr. Schuster, how do you lower your blood pressure? What are some of the best ways to lower your blood pressure? And then, are there any foods that can help lower blood pressure as well?
Okay, good question. To lower your blood pressure, you can start naturally, cutting down the salt, losing weight, and exercising. That could get your blood pressure down 10 or 15 points. If that doesn't do enough, or if that doesn't work, take a stupid pill. And if that doesn't work, take two stupid pills. But you got to find pills that don't have side effects. We have much better pills than we did 30, 40 years ago that have really very low side effects. Now, people say, I don't want to take 2 or 3 pills a day. I say, sorry, grandma gave you the bad gene. You want to get a stroke, you want to be on dialysis, or you want to take a couple of pills.
Okay. And are there any foods that can help lower blood pressure?
Not magically, but of course, fruits and vegetables, brown rice, olive oil, all those magical foods are good for you, but there's nothing that's going to bring your blood pressure down 20 or 30 points.
Okay.
Prostate. Prostate cancer especially kills African American men. So you gotta tell your doctor, check it's a simple blood test. I don't want to get prostate cancer. And if your doctor says prostate cancer is not that bad for you, I'm not going to check you, get another doctor. You gotta get checked for prostate cancer.
Now, at what age would you recommend men start getting checked for prostate cancer?
One of the problems is whether the idiots in the insurance companies will cover the prostate test. But for sure at 50, and if it runs in your family, 40 or 45. Why not? It's a simple blood test.
Now, you say that it's a blood test. Now, I've spoken to individuals that had it, and it was another type of test that was taken. Is it always is it either or in terms of a test?
It's called the PSA. If your PSA is normal, you don't have prostate cancer. If
Okay.
your PSA goes up, then you have to have other tests to see what's going on. Is it an infection or is it cancer? But again, family history. If your brother had prostate cancer or your dad had prostate cancer, you got to push your doctor to check you carefully.
Excellent.
The same thing for colon cancer. We're now doing colonoscopies at 45. Brush your teeth. The less plaque on your teeth, the less plaque in your arteries. And vaccinations for children. There's some controversy now about vaccines. I think out of the 250 doctors at the Stanford Medical Group, all 250 say get your vaccines for the kids. Get your polio vaccine, get your measles, get your mumps, get those vaccines. Get the flu vaccine. Now, if you're 20, 30, or 40 and you're super healthy and you don't want to get the COVID vaccine or the flu vaccine, I'm okay with that. But if you're sick, if you have diabetes, or if you're 50, 60, or 70, get vaccines.
What would you say to the person who said, listen, I usually don't get sick. However, when I get the flu vaccine, it seems like I come down with the flu?
The flu vaccine does not cause the flu, but remember, you're getting the flu vaccine right before flu season. So, but I would say again, if you're 20, 30, 40, and you're super healthy and you don't want to get the COVID vaccine or the flu vaccine, I'm okay with that. But if you're 60, 70, or 80, or if you got cancer or heart disease, then I would say get the flu shot and get the COVID shot. There's a test called the calcium score, where if you're 40, 45, or 50 and people in your family have gotten heart attacks, it's a super easy test. You lay down under the camera for 1 minute and we can see if there's any cholesterol plaque in your arteries or not. So if you're 20, 30, no. If there's no heart disease and your cholesterol is great, no. But if you're 45 and mom or dad or brother had a stent or a bypass, get what's called the calcium score to make sure you're not building up plaque.
Now,
And
let
check,
me ask this, Dr. Schuster.
go
So,
ahead.
if you are building up plaque, is there a way to reverse that through
You
exercise or
don't, you
through
don't, you,
eating?
you can't necessarily reverse it, but you can stop a little bit from turning into a lot. Exercise, diet, control blood pressure, control diabetes, and if you need to take a pill, take a pill. Every cardiologist, every heart doctor alive in the United States takes a cholesterol pill, whether they
Okay,
need it, whether they need it or not, because cholesterol leads to heart attack, stroke, Alzheimer's disease, kidney disease. So don't be bashful about taking a cholesterol pill. Well, test for diabetes. Almost half of Americans have diabetes now.
hmm,
So check for diabetes. That can poison your body. Obesity. 35 to 40% of Americans are obese. This is especially a problem in the African American population. And if you're obese, I would try diet and exercise. If that doesn't work, we now have medications for obesity, and I would not be scared about them. These medications are now being covered by Medicaid and Medicare. So if you have diabetes or blood pressure and you're obese and you can't do it yourself, get some help with medication. So my philosophy is try to do things naturally, try to do things with diet, exercise, eating healthy, reducing stress. But if that doesn't work, get some help with medicines.
excellent. And let me
Dave,
just interject right here, and just remind our viewers that if you have a question, please feel free to type your question into the chat section, and we will have Dr. Schuster answer those questions as well.
all right, so I'm going to end with stress. Stress is bad for you. Laugh. Family comes first. Enjoy your weekends off. Don't be hostile. So they did a study over 100 years ago where they found 5,000 5-year-olds in California, 5,000 5-year-olds, and they followed them their whole life. So the study's over because nobody got to live to be 130. Everybody died. The doctors died, new doctors took over. But what was interesting is they could look at the 5-year-olds and figure out who would live the longest. So, my question to you, this is a tricky question, Dr. Ford. What characteristic can you see in a 5-year-old that will end up determining how long they live?
What characteristics in a 5-year? Well, just based on what you've said so far, one that has a sense of humor, one who is funny, and one who laughs a lot.
That's an answer I get a lot, but that was not what they found. And
What is it?
and sometimes people said 5-year-olds who exercise a lot. No, it turns out it's a psychiatric, a psychological thing. The 5-year-olds who were careful and conscientious. Some 5-year-olds go on a skateboard down a hill at 100 miles an hour, and some are more careful. So the 5-year-olds who were careful became the 12-year-olds who didn't smoke. They became the 18-year-olds who didn't drink and drive. They became the 40-year-olds who got mammograms and colonoscopies. They became the 50-year-olds who exercised and took care of themselves. So the whole idea of my list, which Dr. Ford has and can give out to you people, is be careful, be conscientious, take good care of yourself, eat healthy, wear a seatbelt, don't smoke, exercise, watch your cholesterol, get the tests you need, get see your doctor. If you need some medicines, get your medicines. If you need a vaccine, get a vaccine. And the difference is 20 to 30 years more. And not only years, but good years without disability. Thank you very much for listening to me. I'll take more questions.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Schuster, for your presentation. Let me ask, so if there is someone who wanted to actually see you in the office, how would they go about doing that?
My extension is 2323. Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan. It's easy to remember. That's Michael Jordan's number, 23. So call the hospital, ask for 2323, and say, I want to see Dr. Schuster, and you'll get an appointment. And like I said, I
Awesome.
see everybody.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Dr. Schuster, if there's any other questions, we definitely encourage you to write them in the chat so that we may ask. Dr. Schuster, may I ask, do you have any final comments that you would like to give?
Yes, enjoy life. This is not a dress rehearsal.
All right. And let me ask you this. I saw the sheet that you have. I do not have that. Can we get, if you can email me that, we can go ahead and put that up
Yes, I will.
for.
I will work with Laura Jordan, and I will email you. By the way, I've been working on this sheet for over 40 years. There's some people
Mm,
who still have it on their refrigerator from 1981. I will email you or mail you this, and you can distribute this to your people.
Wonderful. Listen, thank you again so much, Dr. Schuster, for taking this time out to speak with us. I think this has been a great conversation. As I said earlier, you are really equipping us with how to live better and healthier lives. And so thank you so much for that. Listen, to everyone who has watched on today, thank you so much for watching us. And tune in next month, the fourth Tuesday of next month, as we continue our healthy living series. Have a great day.
Thank you, Dr. Ford. It was fun working with you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Schuster.